éternel, tu règnes à jamais.
I want to focus tonight on understanding the source of true manhood. It's tough being a man in the 21st century. And all of you are struggling with that manhood question. Men are very slow to admit that they need help. That's our male problem. So I want to focus on the perspective of what is God's definition of manhood. And I want to begin with a couple of comments relevant to what we're struggling with as men. First of all, this is what my conclusion is after traveling to over 89 countries. The greatest spiritual, social, economic, and psychological curse on humanity today is fatherlessness in every country. Fatherlessness. And what does that mean? 99% of the men in this room perhaps have never been told by their father face to face as a man that I love you. Maybe 96% of the men in this room never heard their father say to them, "You make me proud. You done well." Not because your father is in the house does it mean he's fathering you. Another concern that I've concluded is this one statement: Dad is destiny. Write it down. I got this statement from a cover story from Newsweek magazine. They were doing a main article in Newsweek magazine during the period of Father's Day, and they did a research on fathers. And this statement was made by that secular magazine. Based on all of their research, they concluded that dad is destiny. And what they meant was, so go the men, so go the nation. I don't have time to give you all the stats that they talk about, but it's in that book on the table called The Principle of Fatherhood. Please read that book. Very important stats that they came up with. But they found out that 92% of all problems in society is related to the absence of a male in the family. Whether it's boys with guns or girls with babies. Dropouts of school, prisons filled with young men, all related, they say, to the absence of a father in the house. The secular world, therefore, agrees with God, finally. If you read what God's conclusion of humanity's problem is, it may shock you. But in the last chapter of Malachi, the last 3 verses, God concludes what man needs. He talks about the coming of the Messiah. He talks about John the Baptist being a forerunner to the coming of Christ. And then he says what would be the focus of the mission of Jesus. And what John would preach and emphasize. And here's what he says in Malachi. He will come and he will return the hearts of the children back, not to the mothers, but to the fathers, and the fathers back to the children. Otherwise, he says, I will curse the land. Which means whenever a society is crumbling and seems like it's under a curse, God says it's because the fathers are absent. Not the devil. After you read that statement in Malachi, you'll find a blank page in your Bible. If you check, there's a blank page. That blank page is 400 years of silence. God said nothing for 400 years. And then suddenly a man appears in the wilderness when you turn the page to Matthew 2, and it's John the Baptist. And John the Baptist introduces this great Messiah who came to return the hearts of the fathers back to the children, and the children back to the fathers. Here's what's interesting and mysterious to me. Jesus, when he came to solve man's problem, never chose a woman as a disciple. Why? He came to fix humanity. And he had to follow a blueprint. And the blueprint didn't call for women. He had to deal with the original blueprint to fix humanity, so he knew he had to deal with what the blueprint called for, and it called for the males to be fixed first. The Bible says he chose 12, but the women followed. It's a very important scenario here. Men, you got to go get men. But women, they just show up, they're ready to shout. Women just show up. Let's have church, they say. But men, they play in sports, they out in the clubs, they drinking liquor, they smoking dope, they in jail. You got to go get them. That's why churches are filled with women. He was dealing with healing humanity. Now let me tell you what's happening to the male. Here's a verse you never saw before, guaranteed. It's found in Psalm 62. It talks about exactly what's happening to the male right now in your country. Psalm 62 talks about how we are treated as males. Here's what it says in verse 3. How long will you assault a man? Would all of you throw him down this leaning wall, this tottering fence? That's what they're doing to us. We are already leaning, and they're pushing us. You could never do anything right, they say. You're just like your pa, they say. You could never succeed in anything. You are a loser. You can't even keep your children. You can't take care of your wife. You can't keep a job. They keep pushing. Look at that. How long will you assault a man? Society is assaulting us. David says they fully intend to topple him from his lofty place. Talking about man now. They take delight in lies. They lie on us. Men. They lie with their mouths and they bless. But in their hearts they curse us. He's talking about what they do to men. Listen to this. He says, but find rest, O my soul. Everybody say, rest has arrived. David says, even though they try to destroy me as a male, I find my rest, O my soul, in God alone. Yes, my hope comes from him. Yes. Are you listening to me? Yes, he alone is my rock and my salvation, and he is my fortress. I will not be shaken. Men, we are in such dire straits, only God can help us. Stay with me. So here's what I call the male's mind today. Most of you could relate to this list. Men don't feel the power of self-confidence anymore. They don't feel the power of social roles anymore. Men don't feel the power of their masculinity anymore. That's why many of them are not sure whether they are men. Many men don't feel like they're wanted by women anymore. How many women have you met who said to you, I don't need your car, I don't need your money, I don't need your house, I don't need nothing from you, I got everything myself. And some of you married women that are making you feel like dirt because when you met her, she had babies and house already. And then she puts pressure on you by saying, why don't you be a man? Well, you don't know what to be a man. You don't know what that means anymore. Because when your father was a man, it was easy. Remember? Being a man in your father's era was very easy. To be a man meant he had to go to work, bring home the bacon, build a house, provide the groceries, and pay for the kids. That was to be a man, it was easy. A woman's job was to keep the house, cook the food, and nurse the babies. Everybody was clear. Today, that's finished. To be a man, you don't know what it is to be a man anymore. I mean, to be a man, so do I buy a house? She got a house. Do I buy a car? She got 2. Do I give her children? She came with 3 of them already. Do I buy groceries? She owns the refrigerator. Should I give her money? She bought on the pig, not just the bacon. She's making more than me. So now the guy is stuck. So what am I supposed to do to be a man now in this house? And that's your problem right now. Listen to me carefully. God sent me 2,000 miles to tell you what your problem is. Your problem is you don't feel wanted anymore. How many times have women threatened you? If you don't do what I say, you can get out. This is my house. You remember the days when your father was a man? He used to say, this is my house, and I wear the pants in this house. She wear pants too now. So, what do you mean you wear the pants? It's tough to be a man. Men don't feel needed anymore. Of course she doesn't need you. Her salary is higher than yours. She owns the condominium. The car you're driving is her car. The TV you're watching is her TV. And the food in the refrigerator is her food and the fridge. And she tell you to be a man. That's why a lot of men don't know what to do. They don't feel appreciated. They don't feel respected. And they don't feel secure. That's why many men act like women. They are feminized because they are threatened by the woman. I wish I had 2 more days to talk to you. Because you see, the problem is the woman don't know what she's doing to you. She needs help too. Because she's destroying your masculinity. Here's the other problem. I call it the male crisis. Write this down. The men have lost their sense of purpose. That's why they bounce from job to job to job. They don't know what their career is. They don't know what their vocation is anymore. They kind of move around, just kind of bounce around. They have no sense of purpose. Number 2, they lost their identity. That's why they pretend to be other people. Sometimes men pretend to be women. They have no identity. Thirdly, men lost their definition of manhood. They don't know what it is. They also lost their value to life. They lost their meaning in their lives. They have no reason to live. Most men lost their role. They don't know what it is to be a man in society or in the home. They lost their sense of significance. They feel that they are not important to the world anymore. And the average man, that's why he drinks and is in gangs and he kills and he shoots and he domestically violates his family, because he is a man who has no sense of value. He has no vision. He lost his sense of importance. He also lost his sense of authority. How many men are afraid to lift their voice in their own house? The children that live in your house ain't yours. So what do you do with them when they curse you back? They tell you, you're not my daddy. I mean, this is frightening to some men. That's why a lot of you men, I know you're quiet in here, we're going to deal with this stuff. You go home to her children, and you've been married for 5 years, and the kids call you by your first name. No authority. And you can't correct them when they curse and do foolishness. You can't even correct them. There's no authority in the house. So you feel like a slave, like a dog. That's what men are dealing with today. And they are in this room. Men lost their sense of respect. No one respects the male anymore, so he doesn't respect himself either. And then men also lost what I call their own manhood. They lost their manhood. This is why they try to define manhood in very difficult ways. Now let me tell you the result of all of this crisis. The result is this, very important list. First of all, the challenge is that the male is struggling with his purpose. He doesn't know why a male was created. He also is struggling with his manhood. He doesn't know what it is to be a man, and he also doesn't know what it is to have authority. He's trying to regain authority by force or by abuse. Men are also struggling with their self-image. They're not sure how to be a man, so they imitate other men who are not worthy of imitation. They're trying to find their image. And then men are also trying to live with a woman in the 21st century. It's almost impossible to live with a woman in the 21st century because she doesn't need nothing from you. You buy a woman a gift, she said that's cheap. I mean, break your heart. You can't buy a car, she got 2 of them. You can't buy her clothing, she got a closet full when you met her. So men are struggling with how to live with a woman who has everything. It's challenging.
Assis dans le ciel, ton trône éternel, tu règnes à jamais.